Welcome back to 3 Inquisitive Kids. We're going to continue our AMC8 course with systems of equations. On the last day of school, Ms. Awesome gave jelly beans to her class. She gave each boy as many jelly beans as there were boys in the class. She gave each girl as many jelly beans as there were girls in the class. She brought 400 jelly beans, and when she finished, she had 6 jelly beans left. There were 2 more boys than girls in her class. How many students were in her class? Let's start by setting the variables. Obviously, we're trying to find the total number of students in her class, and they're split into 2 groups, boys or girls. So, we can set the variables b as the number of boys, and g as the number of girls. Now, using these 2 variables, we can write some equivalent relationships that were given to us in the middle of the problem. So, what is the first thing we can write? Well, in this one sentence right here, it directly states that there are 2 more boys than girls in the class. So we can write b is greater than g by 2. What's the other equivalent relationship? Well, we know that each boy received as many jelly beans as there were boys in the class. So each boy, b, was multiplied because we're given the number of boys in the class, which is again still b. So that actually accounts for b squared, plus the number that was given out to girls. Each girl received as many jelly beans as there were girls in the class, so g times g is equal to g squared, plus the remaining 6 jelly beans. The total amount of jelly beans that were brought to the class, was 400. So these are the 2 equations that we have. When we are solving systems of equations, however many variables you set, that's the amount of different equations that you need to have. So if we had 3 variables, you would at least need 3 different equations to solve each of those variables. Otherwise, it would be impossible. And here we have 2 variables, so we are using 2 equations. Usually, it's good to have as less variables as possible, so it's easy to solve. So using these 2 equations, equation number 1 and equation number 2, let's see how we can solve. Well, as you can see, we can substitute equation number 1 into equation number 2. We know that the variable b can be replaced with the expression g plus 2. So we could go ahead and do that right here, giving us g plus 2 squared plus g squared is equal to 394. We are just subtracting 6 onto both sides to cancel out this constant term. Now we can use this formula right here, a squared plus 2ab plus b squared is equal to a plus b squared. We can use this formula to evaluate these parentheses. This gives us g squared plus 4g plus 4 plus g squared is equal to 394. And now we can just combine like terms and transpose terms. So g squared plus g squared gives us 2g squared. And we still have 4g, and we can also subtract 4 from both sides of the equation to get 390. Now if we divide 2 onto both sides, we have g squared plus 2g is equal to 195. Now we see that on the left side we can use the distributive property to factor out the g and give us g times g plus 2 is equal to 195. Now is when we can look through all the factor pairs of 195 and see which 2 factors in one pair have a difference of 2. We realize that that would be 13 and 15. So we know that g is equal to 13. This tells us that there are 13 girls in the class. G is equal to 13. Now, since we know that there are 2 more boys than girls in the class, we know that there are 15 boys in the class. Adding these 2 numbers together, we get 28 students. So Miss Awesome has 28 students in her class.